Good afternoon. Today is September 3rd. It is 5 o'clock p.m. This is the Livingston Parish Ordinance Committee. We're going to start off with the pledge, and then we're going to go into prayer. So if y'all would stand. Okay, we are gonna go into your cell phones. Please silence all cell phones. Everybody will have 2 minutes to speak. Once you're done with your 2 minutes, you may sit down, let the next person come up and speak. And Raven, will you do roll call?
Mr. Shavers?
Here.
Mr. Taylor? Mr. Mangus?
Here.
Okay, so as some of you may know, this ordinance that I have been working on has been on a couple of agendas already and is back at the Ordinance Committee at the request of Councilman Wascom. So apparently there is some opinions and suggestions on this ordinance that didn't come forward before, so we're going to hear those now. And so if anybody would like to come up and speak, you got 2 minutes, and we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on them. Sure.
Yes, sir. All right. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Shavers for this because it's really been a problem for a long time, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate all the input from everybody all over the community, especially the Natalie Allen and Mr. Keene. One of the first things that we did in the latest revision on it is we changed the name of this. It's section 125-37. It's requirements for minor subdivisions of property, because I called 4 different people and I asked them, when I use the word subdivision, what does that mean to you? And nobody other than an engineer or a surveyor said subdivisions of property. They said houses. They gave me Arbor Walk or Woodland Crossing. All right, so there's a disconnect. We're supposed to serve the people. So that first is the first thing, and I wanted just to get that out there, and everything else we can hash out after that. Thank you.
Okay, who's first? Don't all run at once.
Can you hear me now? All right. So I got they sent Miss Sandy has sent me a copy, and I was just a bit confused. So this is the copy she had emailed me. On the second page, section 8, we talk about 3 lots, 6 lots. Then when you go down to 9, they talk about 7 lots. Then when you go to A of 9, you're talking about 6 lots. So I was a bit confused how many lots we're talking about. So that was
That's something that I
Okay.
will, that was a suggestion from the planning commission.
Yeah, yeah, again, I mean, it was very confusing when I read through it. And then the only other comment I have right now is on, if you look at section, 2, it talks about, the flood protection and mitigation requirements. So as you all know, we've getting back in the CRS program. We've done a lot of work to get those CRS points. And I just want to make sure we don't go backwards. So some of the things that I think we need to make sure that one of the main requirements that the floodplain coordinators we talked about is in the the CFR, the federal guidelines from FEMA. There's one requirement that they have for 5 acres or more. So for 5 acres or more, basically the proposal needs to include the base flood elevation data. So I
Okay.
think there's nothing in here that makes that requirement. So on a subdivision of property, I think we just need to make sure we define that 5 acres, that we get those base flood elevations, just to make sure we capture that data.
I'll have Raven
Okay.
write that down.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dugas. Who's next?
I got what Miss Sandy sent.
Revised from what? Well, no, they need the original, because if they get that one, that's where they're going to confuse. That's the one you need. All right, sorry, Mr. Eddie, go ahead.
That's okay. I think some of the confusion might be is that we're trying to interpret what we think you guys meant in the ordinance. So I think it would be very beneficial if we could, not saying this is the format to do it, maybe it is or isn't, but if we could say, hey, this is how we interpret it. Like for me, it seems like the intent was on one of the items, once it's subdivided, let's say beyond 6 lots, if that's what it gets changed to, that, like I talked about the other night, you won't be able to subdivide it beyond that without drainage impact study, traffic impact study, and special permission from the council. It seemed like that was the only mechanism to do it, or it's going to be considered a bona fide subdivision to where you end up having to build paved roads and things like that. So I don't know if that's what the intent was or not, but I think some dialogue back and forth just on what the intent is would be helpful too. Because I may be giving you my opinion or advice based on a misinterpretation of what you guys were actually trying to accomplish. And to sidestep a little bit, I think that's one thing that, for the last couple of years, the feeling I was getting, I thought that especially this council, I thought that the goal was less dense developments in Livingston Parish. So in my mind, I'm thinking that you want to, maybe it's a poor choice of words, but discourage trying to stuff the maximum number of 50 by 120 foot lots on a piece of property and encourage large lot and acreage subdivisions, which the minor resub is the best mechanism to do that. So, to me, being negative, it seems like we'd be trying to discourage that when I would think we would want to encourage that. And like I talked about the other night, I know there are people that take advantage of that. They go find a tract, they subdivide it into the maximum number of lots, smallest that they can, and be legal within the code, and they sell them, and they move on, and they do that. And maybe, I don't want to be the one to say that, we ought to try to discourage that, because I'm not sure we should, but maybe that is the opinion of some people. We try to discourage that. But what I'm asking, guys, is let's not do that at and hurt the majority, because the majority of the people that want to do a resub is for the reason I talked about the other night. Maybe it's an older couple. The only wealth they have is that 40 acres they own. And it could be a couple of reasons. Maybe they want to take 10 acres and 10 acres, give one to their son, one to their daughter. You don't want to make those people spend $30,000 to do that. I know that's not your intent. So we need to make a mechanism to allow that to happen.
Can you email your suggestions to our clerks?
I already have.
Perfect.
Yeah, I
We'll
emailed
take a
it
look at 'em.
yesterday.
Thank you.
So I know you guys don't want to discourage that. At least I don't think you do. And then, there's other examples, like my grandmother's 89 years old. Now, she does have enough money in the bank. She won't have to do this. But there are a lot of older people that them or their parents purchased property when it was cheap, and that's the only wealth they have. And, the older you get, the more health care you need, the more things you need. And, where one of the options to those guys, to those older people, might have been to subdivide out a couple of tracts and sell them so that they could generate enough revenue to take care of them until they're no longer here. And I don't think the intent is to prevent that.
I'll explain to you my intent. My intent behind this was because there was a loophole that's being used, and I'm sure you're very well aware of it, where developers and individuals are buying property and applying for a minor resub at 9 lots, and then they wait 2 years. The average time to build 9 homes is 2 years. I've looked that up. Is the average length of time is 2 years. So by the time they get building their 9, they go to the planning department and they apply for another 9. And then they wait 2 years and they apply another 9. And that's what's happening. And right now at the planning department, hold on, is Scooter Keen. How many do you have? How many applications? Total. Since this minor resub has been even talked about, 41 applications have been applied for a minor resub. So there's obviously a hot commodity, and developers and individuals are knowing that there's a loophole, and they know that they can get by with doing this. Gravity Drainage is struggling. I mean, they can't keep up with these minor resubs that are popping up, and right now they've got 41 applications. Scooter and the planning department have got no grounds to reject them because this law isn't in effect yet to really help those guys out and the neighboring properties who are flooding from all of these applications that are going beyond and beyond and beyond and beyond. It's just getting out of control.
Yeah, and like I said, I agree with you. There are people that utilize that minor resub to do exactly that. And I think that the reason there's 41 of them there is because of this proposed ordinance. I mean,
Absolutely.
to be honest with you, it's not 41 every month, is it, Scooter?
No,
Okay.
it's 41
So-
total, but it's average 5
Yeah.
to 7 a day from what I'm being
Yeah,
told.
and so, talking about intent and trying to encourage larger acreage lots in Livingston Parish, especially in rural Livingston Parish, the only place you could do it anyway. But we could look at that and see how many tracts are created a year. If you're creating 100 or 150 large 1, 2, 5, 10 acre tracts every year, I don't see that as being a bad thing.
But
You know what I'm saying,
This
Ryan?
this ordinance doesn't have anything to do with the density. This is only based off of the parent tract and the original 6. That the zoning takes care of the density. This is only to say when you go to apply for, if you got 100 acres and you want to say, I want to build 5 homes on there, great. That first 5 is free. It's on us. You ain't got to pay nothing. You just got to, apply for your permits and all that stuff. But you don't have to pay for those studies. But anybody that comes in and says, well, I want to develop an additional 6, well, you got to start paying for those studies. We got to know where the water's going.
But for a developer that his intent is to buy them and create as many 9-lot resubs as he can, and how do we separate that from everybody else? I don't know, and that's what I want us to discuss about how we potentially
And
do
I'm
that.
willing to, and I told this to John.
Because what I'm talking about, Ryan, is when you have let's say this ordinance passed last Thursday. Next week, I buy a 50-acre tract that is one of 6 that was resubbed and approved. You mean 10 years later, I can't cut out an acre for my son because I wouldn't be able to under the
So
ordinance.
let me ask you this.
I
What is
couldn't
the number of lots that's feasible for you and your example that would say, I don't have to pay for anything?
It's not a number of and it's not that you're not paying for anything. You're paying for the
Well, you know what I mean.
$5,000 resub.
You know what I mean, the
and you might
drainage
be paying
studies.
for a $1,000 drainage analysis instead of a $15,000 drainage impact study.
So tell me-
But I think at the time period, Ryan, is a better tool. Okay, I think it's 24 months now. I'm not saying do this, but consider to try to prevent the thing that you don't want. Make it 5 years. Gotta
I
wait
tried
five-
that
gotta
and
wait-
they turned me down.
Well, I'm just bringing it up.
and
as
I
an
understand.
example. You know what I'm
And I think
saying?
Scooter and I talked about that suggestion.
Even if you cut it from 9 to 6, you know, that's going to handle the majority of the resubs, okay, to be honest with you. There's the people that are taking a tract and subdividing into 9 parts, it probably is because they're intending to sell them. Not saying that's a bad thing, but I think the timing between resubs is a better tool, because somebody that's going to buy a piece of property and wait 5 years before he can re-subdivide it, his intent is not to get rich on it, I can tell you, because you might not live 5 years.
You had a
okay?
question?
Well, here's the thing. We get into the term of arbitrary, and 3, 5, 7, any building, any disturbing of land, building a foundation, base flood elevation, 2 feet, any of that is going to affect drainage. So what doesn't affect drainage is a survey of imaginary lines on a digital screen. So what I looked into, and Anthony Vaselli of McLean Taylor told me about it, was the city of Hammond and what they require. And then I found that Youngsville and some other places do this. And what they have is that they're not worried about the subdivision of property. They say that anytime a permit gets pulled, you have to have existing ground drainage structures, ditches, and proposed water runoff for any new construction. Now, that doesn't have to cost $15,000. And the more that are done, the cheaper it becomes. It's an economy of scale. So if I want to build a garage on my property, I would be subjected to that.
That's right. And see,
Then we know where the water goes. Only thing that would be required of the subdivision of property would be a look at LiDAR, FEMA maps, things like that, which is not very expensive.
that's right.
It's
And
when you build.
that's right. And like we was talking about, John, I think you could take it even a step further when you have and leave it at you could develop some criteria for the staff and your review engineers to look at when there's a resub that could potentially complicate drainage. You can look at the LiDAR, see the natural drainage ways of the flow of drainage for that property, and you could require them to dedicate some drainage servitudes at that time, which would even further help that and further prevent one neighbor from potentially blocking the drainage for another.
Let's be honest. What percentage of private roads eventually become parish roads? I'd say it's higher than that, but at least 50%. I would say it's probably higher. So eventually somebody's going to get around and get enough clout to say they want it blacktopped or whatever. So let's require it now. We can't do the row for various reasons, but do the, what do you want, 80?
Make
60?
them dedicate a 60-foot servitude of passage so that
Absolutely.
it could be turned into a 60-foot right-of-way. That's what you're
If
saying.
it's in a gravity drainage district, let them sign off on that. Okay, let them see where it's going. Let that servitude be there and the setback, and have it ready if it ever goes that way.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Eddie, we've got your suggestions. Raven's got them, and I'll take a look at them this afternoon. All right. Anybody else?
I'm Jamie Seelman, Quality Engineering and Surveying, representing Drainage District 1. And we were one of the groups that really kind of spoke out against this to begin with. We work with Drainage District 1, Drainage District 2. We found some developments that were happening, minor lots, or minor resubs that were being developed within the drainage districts that were going to result in some problems later down the road. We understand that when you look at all these, what's proposed here, and the changes that have already been made since January of this year, with the floodplain ordinance that the parish passed, being able to get back into the community rating system, and those requirements, all those things contribute to improving the situation that we have. This ordinance absolutely goes a long way to help preserving those things as well. And I think you need all those things. And there's definitely other things that have to be included whenever we implement this ordinance or some variation of this ordinance. One of the biggest things that we see is areas that are developed that do not have any type of defined lateral, okay? Whenever we come across a development where it's not a named lateral, we can name it a lateral, then taxpayers have to start paying maintenance and operations in that channel. If drainage district start going in there and start working on it. At which point we've got to figure out how to identify it. We got to prevent that from being a burden to the taxpayers in the future.
Did you put that did you give that to Erin, that suggestion in that list that she gave me?
We did. We absolutely did. One of the
I've got those.
Yes, sir. That is one it's still in here is blue text. So I guess that's going to stay, which is huge because as it stands right now, if anybody turns in any type of resub, the individual property owner is not responsible for any type of review associated with that. And this ordinance allows for that to now be borne by the person that's trying to develop that piece of property. So that's a huge component of this. Another part of it is with the floodplain ordinance that was passed previously by this council. In order to be able to get into the CRS, one of the benefits, one of the additions that was made to our floodplain ordinance was the addition of a fill mitigation component, which is going to require any development that's happening within the special flood hazard area to have some type of an analysis related to fill. Okay. That's what's going to prevent things like what we see within the drainage district. This, I don't know if you can see this real well, but this is actually a slough, a natural slough. It's not a named channel. It's not anything that would have caught anybody's attention because it's natural. Who's going to build in that, right? This area right here was identified for development back in the 2000s, early 2000s. Okay, we didn't have this LIDAR. This wasn't readily available. This is information that's come within the last 20 years for us, since after 2005, later, okay? And at that point, we had a foot variation, anywhere up to 3 feet variation. Only within the last 10 years have we gotten any better than that, okay? And we spent a lot of money to get that. Well, when you look at that site today, this is it. This property right here was able to go out there and develop. That plat was approved way prior to any of us being involved with this.
Is that the one that's built up like 8 feet or something?
No, this one isn't. This is in
There's
Drainage District 1 off Forest
subdivision
Grove
in
Road.
Walker that has like all the houses that are like 8 feet, literally higher than
Ant pile. Ant piles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've completely blocked off this slough. Fortunately, in this particular case, the developer has gone through and made some accommodations with the parish and made some changes. But the Drainage District never had the authority to comment on it because it was never it was a minor resub. And that's what's driven us to come in here and ask for these things to put in place. We've got to document what's happening with the land as quickly as possible. The first thing someone does whenever they buy the land is they go out there and they clear it because they need to know what's out there, right? And once they've done that, they've damaged the land. We don't know what's out there.
I think adding your suggestions that you gave to Erin, or reviewing them and looking at them with her and not Jerome, the land use attorneys, we were looking at them, and I don't really have an issue with I don't have an issue with all of them, but one or two I do. But this ordinance was created because of a meeting I had with you guys at the Gravity Drainage office. So I want to give you guys kudos for finding a problem and bringing it to me and saying something's got to be done because this has been done for too long. So I do appreciate you giving those suggestions, and we'll look at them. And I got them from Erin. So
yeah, absolutely. So I think at the end of the day, there just has to be some type of documentation. Absolutely tie it to a permit. Make sure that nobody's going out there damaging the drainage system that's available on site. Anytime someone goes we've got to have clearing permits. Yep. If you're going to go clear land, we need to know what you're doing. I need to know what's happening out there at the drainage.
Agreed.
And that's going to protect the people that are adjacent to the properties that are going to be developed later on.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you, Jamie. I
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Right.
All right. Who's next?
Thank you for revisiting this, Ryan. I know this is you're super passionate about it, and you should be. You know, Mr. Seal was talking about that in the gravity drainage district. They're already reviewing all the resub. In a lot of the areas of the parish, we don't have gravity drainage districts. So we do need to see what's going on. But $30,000 worth of studies aren't warranted. Eddie took most of my talking points. I think he did a good job. But one thing he didn't bring up was if somebody owns 3-4 acre tract that was part of this original 6-lot resub, and they go to build a house, most banks don't lend on anything over an acre, possibly 2 acres. So if they need to do a resub to build a house, now they're doing $30,000, $40,000 worth of studies to build a house on their original 3-acre parcel. That's just another instance that this ordinance, the way it's written, would hamper citizens of the parish. And the broad brush stroke that we're trying to apply to every resub, I don't think is a good tactic to go about it. I do think there's some nuance and some further conversation to have. And I do like your suggestion about whenever we go to pull a permit, now we know what we're doing, now we know what we need to do.
With what Mr. Seal said, if there's a base LiDAR or a base, FEMA maps, and we have an idea of what the untouched land looks like, then when we go and develop it, I mean, that'll be.
And we have LiDAR available for the entire parish, and that's for better lack of a term, a desktop assessment and minimal cost to find out what the water's doing and what it would do at that.
And the more this becomes required, I mean, every new change, every new OSHA change in businesses or whatever, they're always expensive at first. But once it becomes, the
Put in
law
place and
put in
acted on.
place, it'll kick in. No, we don't want to make anybody have to pay. I'm sure Mr. Shavers doesn't want people to pay
I don't think he does
$20,000. But we've got to do everything that we can to prevent another 2016. We're not going to stop development, and that's not what needs to happen. We have to grow,
I agree.
but it needs to be done correctly. And the good thing is with the 41 to 48 resubs that are coming in, that shows that Mr. Shavers and this body has shaken up some people. That
It's definitely woke people up.
they're
I'll give you that.
concerned, and that's what we need to do. That's what good governance is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Melissa Jones, 32738 Mangum Chapel Road. We have 60 acres. My older son just bought 13 that ties into that, and eventually my husband will inherit. The only thing that I don't want to come up with later on, I have younger children, 3 per se. We have planted pine timber. We have a farm. We have ag. We have a 1,483-foot driveway y'all will never maintain, but it's not 60 foot. But if I want to give my kids, I know we keep discussing this family partition, but I don't think there's allowances, and I wasn't going to say anything, but I feel like now I do, because I don't want somebody to come back and say, well, we're giving out waivers and we're going to get sued. But y'all not allowing, so like our 60 acres, my kids would probably just want to build within reason, a certain amount with, within, a corner of the property, kind of like how we do it now, to keep the timber and to keep for our cows and stuff. So I don't know if that's going to fall with a family partition, or if this is going to change things altogether with that as well. I know with zoning, they put me, I think they have to have 2 or 3 acres per, to be able to subdivide it at all. But
What are you zoned, man?
I think I'm ag. I think
Yeah, 3
ag, yeah.
acres, right? Okay.
Yeah, so zoning and a minor resub are 2 totally different things. The minor resub application will dictate what they can build there. So, I don't know
The
if that.
zoning,
The
yeah,
zoning
the zoning
will
will.
dictate what your acreage will be and all that. So I don't know if that answers your question
Well, I'm
or,
just asking, even with with any of it, if it falls, is it ever gonna fall back to a family partition? Is y'all gonna make that a separate section, or if this, just say if it qualified for family, you know, like, if a family had to redivide or whatever, is that gonna still qualify?
I see what you're saying. So you're saying beyond the parent, like if something
So if I
happens.
don't wanna give my kids all, like, split it up 3 ways right now and give them all, you know, all of it, and I just want, maybe I want to allow for them to, I think that, you know, it's a service to the community. We have drainage, we have a canal running through there. Of course, meeting all those requirements, but are we gonna be penalized when I go back to get ready to, we decide what we're gonna do and they wanna, you know, they get the rest of the land or however we split that up, but,
You talking about like a family partition?
yeah.
I don't know if we have that in place. No, but I think that's something that's been in the works. I don't know. I remember somebody. I think it was either Ricky or one of the council members were sponsoring a family partition ordinance that I think would probably help your situation out. This is not something you're trying to do like tomorrow.
No,
But-
I've been kind of waiting because, they kept saying they was gonna come up with the, you know, I didn't know, like, if I gave them a certain portion now, not all of it, and then later on wanted to, you know, give the rest or whatever.
Sure.
I felt like they were old enough and responsible enough to.
No, I
to
understand what
handle
you're
it,
saying.
You know,
I think that's something to consider for sure.
okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Thank you, Miss Melissa.
Jeanette Clark, 10811 Arnold Road. To add on to what she was saying, I was going to come up here and say, definitely add in a family partition and look at Tangipahoe's ordinance. They have 10 years for resubs and they have a family partition. So I think that might help everyone. They have a really good ordinance. I do a lot of work over there, so.
Okay.
So you're familiar with Hammond and
Well,
their-
Hammond's is different.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're up.
Raven, will you pull that and email me the family partition ordinance tomorrow morning? Okay. All right. Is there anybody else to speak?
See Billy Taylor?
Yeah, I see that. You're on the wrong mic, Billy. You're supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm wrong, Billy Taylor. Get in trouble for that a lot. No, thanks. First of all, thanks for you guys for just taking a lot of input. It sounds like you've got a list of input that hadn't even made it to our page yet. So I'm looking forward to
Yes.
seeing that before it comes before you guys again. Just really trying to clarify a couple of things. You know, I kind of echo a lot of things everybody said. So the 6 lots, the way the ordinance is written and interpreted right now, just say you divide 6 tracts of land, maybe they're all 100 acres, and after 2 years, the count for each lot starts over. Is that still the same here?
Yeah. So like you said, if they subdivided 6 times, and then they do it again in 2 years, and they want to subdivide again, or just say another 6, that is no longer the parent tract.
So it doesn't automatically start over. And you're saying, so if they want to divide it again, that's when all these studies come into effect?
Correct.
Okay, so that was the but they're able to do it as long as they do this work.
Correct.
I got you. Thank you for the clarification because there was a little confusion on that. But yeah, no, I echo the same thing. Just we got majority of people that come in our office. They're not trying to develop, and they're just trying to divide their land. And a lot of it, people are elderly and they have trouble affording the survey, and sometimes they have to save up several months and just adding some costs. So we'll make sure that we look at that and use some readily available information like y'all are discussing. I've got a client that got wealth in land, like y'all were saying, and they break off tracts of land and sell probably one a year to pay their medical bills and buy their medicine. So it just sounds like y'all are considering all that. We appreciate that. I'm just looking forward to seeing what y'all come up with after these suggestions, and look forward to working with you guys.
The council agenda will go out tomorrow. So my plan, just so everybody here knows, is tomorrow's going to be a busy day for me because she's going to have all the suggestions, and I'm going to look at those and start pinning in what I think would be a good fit out of everybody's suggestions. If you feel like you guys have something that you want to add to it, or you feel like there's a suggestion or something needs to be changed, or you don't like the verbiage or something, Raven's email, she can give you that after the ordinance meeting. You got to get it to her, what do you say, Raven, tomorrow morning by 9, 10? let's say tomorrow by 9 a.m., that would be the time to email Raven your suggestions for this ordinance. So that gives me time tomorrow to start giving her what I'd like to see in it. But like I said, get her email after the ordinance meeting tonight. But if there's nobody else to speak or nobody else has any suggestions, Robert, absolutely.
I did, well, they made me think about something. So one of the things that we also discussed was if you've got a large tract of land and you start subdividing it, some of the issues we have on a parish level is the utilities. So that may be something to consider requiring. How are you going to get electric? How are you going to get sewer? How are you going to get water? Because the electric company, they tell me all the time, somebody goes buys 10 acres and they come to them and it takes them, they got to run a whole new line.
Right.
So that may also be a good criteria to put in there. Again, somebody that's just trying to subdivide it, they don't need electricity.
Right.
So that, it's not an issue, but a developer, what I'm saying, like you're talking about, that would put a fire under him to have to get that done. So,
understood. Okay.
all right.
All righty. Okay. All right. Well, I do appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We are going to adjourn.